Hello, everyone. I'm Randy Arrington, and welcome to the 23rd episode of Page Valley Living. We're here today outside on Main Street of Stanley, Virginia, just outside of the Daughter of the Stars Theater and Cultural Center. This century-old building served as a movie theater back in the 1920s, showing old war films and old westerns. But later in the 1960s, it became a garment factory, where just over 40 women produced some 3,000 dresses per week for Stanley Manufacturing, Inc. It lay dormant for decades, but today this old building is going through yet another transition, one in which it will return to its roots as an entertainment venue and a cultural cornerstone for the town of Stanley. We'll be talking with owner, developer, and construction manager Patrick Burns, who first purchased this half-acre property back in 2010. We'll hear about what it took to get to this point in the theater's development and what he may have in store in the years ahead. We'll talk about all of that and more in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at this week's headlines. And now looking back at the week that was in the Page Valley. On Monday, the Page County Board of Supervisors unanimously voted to double the county's transient occupancy tax. The additional levy posed on lodging fees will jump from 5% to 10%, generating a projected $1.8 million in additional revenues for the county's general fund. Supervisors also approved the $90.3 million spending plan for the next budget cycle, which includes an additional $500,000 in local spending for schools, while also eliminating 3 grant positions in the sheriff's office. A week ago on Monday, a Page County man was pronounced dead in the early morning hours of April 29th following a self-inflicted gunshot wound at a residence in the 400 block of Pass Run Road. Despite life-saving measures from Page County Sheriff's Office deputies, Page County EMS, and Luray Volunteer Rescue crews, the victim succumbed to his injuries and was later pronounced dead at a helicopter landing zone. No foul play is expected. More than 100 attendees came out to the scenic Stonyman Valley Ranch on Thursday night for the Luray Page County Chamber of Commerce's 98th annual banquet and awards. A total of 15 prize packages provided by more than 50 local businesses were given away as part of the night's silent auction, with gift values totaling more than $10,000. Among the award winners were the Eco-Friendly Agricultural Business of the Year was the Daughter of the Stars Farmers Market. The Town of Shenandoah Museum and Welcome Center was named the Hospitality Business of the Year. The West Luray Rec Center and Living Legacy Luray was named the Service Business of the Year, and the Mary Lee Bryan Volunteer of the Year honor went to Donna Whitley Smith. In the world of sports, the Page County softball team clinched the Bull Run District regular season title on Friday with a 1-0 win over Strasburg. Senior Adrian Martin went 2 for 2 and scored the game's only run. With Tuesday's win over Mountain View, the Panthers have now won a dozen straight, stand at 16-1 overall, with 1 game remaining at Luray on Friday. The Page County baseball team broke a 6-game skid with a 2-1 win over Strasburg on Friday. Cross-county rival Luray will host the Panthers in 4 games this Friday, including baseball, softball, and both boys and girls soccer teams. The Luray girls soccer team currently 8-5 with 3 games remaining. And now looking at the weekend ahead in the Page Valley, and once again, there is a lot going on. On Friday, May 10th, there will be a class on basic outdoor survival in the Shenandoah National Park, and there'll be a whole host of other activities to celebrate Wildflower Weekend in Shenandoah National Park on Saturday and Sunday. Also on Friday night, it's Trivia Night over at Valley Cork. On Saturday, May 11th from 9 to 2, the Daughter of the Stars Farmers Market will be set up at 736 4th Street in Shenandoah. At 10 a.m. on Saturday, the 10th annual Mid-Atlantic Pre-War Swap Meet will be held at the Luray VFW Comer Jones Post 621 on Route 211 just east of Luray. From 7 to 9 p.m. on Saturday at Ed Good Park in Stanley, they'll host the Praise in the Park event featuring multiple vocalists, including local talent Lisa Meadows. And at 7:30 p.m. Saturday night in downtown Luray, it's the Lou Tobacco Trio will perform jazz at the Rebecca J. Graves Regional Center for the Performing Arts. And that's the headlines from the past week in the Page Valley. Episode 23 of Page Valley Living is being recorded on Tuesday, May the 7th, and will be airing on Wednesday, May the 8th. And we're back here inside of the Daughter of the Stars Theater and Culture Center in downtown Stanley with owner Patrick Burns. Patrick, thanks so much for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's introduce you to folks who may not have met you yet. You've been around the Page Valley and here in Page County for quite some time. You first came to Page County more than a quarter century ago and got into the cabin rental business. You own Skyline Hideaway up on Tanner's Ridge, just outside of Stanley off Pine Grove Road. And so you visited the Page Valley for many years, coming here to your properties and all. And then you saw this property here at 186 East Main Street in Stanley. What drew you to this particular property, and why did you relocate here, I believe from Pennsylvania in 2010?
Actually, Maryland.
Maryland, I was
No, it's
close.
okay. It's all good. Well, really, it's a theater. That's the point. And you don't get the chance as a builder to renovate a theater very often. So the theater was here. It was already zoned for theater. So since the building was here, this is where it is.
Excellent. Now, and you live in, your home is right next to the theater, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So now, I remember we talked, first did a story back on Page Valley News back in October about this building and about you and the site. And you told me when you bought this, there were 8 structures on this half-acre lot. Now, how is that possible?
Well, there are a lot of little structures all over the place. There's a little red building, which we're still trying to figure out what it was used for. There's a yellow building that was a laundry and is storage. And then the long, narrow building in the back, which happens to be roughly the same dimensions as the Iroquois Longhouse, we use as a maintenance shop.
And one of them was a chicken coop, right? That you were counting the coop.
Yeah, and yes, the coop's in there, and I have no idea what to do with it, so it's okay.
Well, you've certainly done a lot here with a little, and you know, I know that you're a big fan of history, and that's been part of your inspiration in what you're doing here. How cool was it to find an inscription on the wall inside of this building from 1926?
Well, that's the excitement of history. You go through, you're a detective, you follow the trail to where it leads you, and you get these surprises along the way. And going to one of our videos on our YouTube channel, we found that with the Treaty of 1744, the Treaty of Lancaster, which is how the Shenandoah Valley transferred its ownership to the colonies.
Oh, wow. Wow. So, now, the inscription I'm talking about, folks, when you visit the theater, it's going to be in the back corner. Eventually, this is going under glass, right?
Correct, yes.
It's going to be preserved. And it's right as you kind of go up towards the balcony. You showed it to me back in October, but what does it say? Does it have any?
It basically has a date.
It has a date
of what it was finished, and that's about it. So those are the little clues you go on. We have no documentation on this building that anybody can find.
Oh, wow.
So that's what we're going off.
Okay, and I believe it was like something like November 20-something of
26 of 1926, yes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Wow. So like we said, this building has a lot of history. I know a lot has gone into it. Before we go into this next question, I want to talk a little bit more about what you've done at the building. Now, these wooden floorboards that are down in front of us here, they are the original floorboards that were in the building. We talked about the inscription on the wall, but you've had your work cut out from you trying to make this place manageable, right? I know the foundation needed to be shifted, and it was a lot of work, wasn't it?
It was a lot of work, and for the first year, we weren't certain we could save the building. So that's one of the reasons why I kept it very quiet for the first year, because I wanted to make sure we could get past the engineering challenges of doing this. Right. The building was actually separated in one part. We had to actually sew it together with a bunch of 2x4s. And we took care of that. We straightened the building out literally by pulling it together and doing things like letting it sit through August so the hot, moist air would actually reform the wood a little bit, a way of steaming it, so to speak. And but after we got past all of that, we were then full speed into doing the major renovations of the whole place.
And I know there's more you want to do. Do one favor for me: never redo these wood floors. I know they're dingy, but I just love the fact that they have been left in their original form. I think to sand them and put a new coat of finish on it would almost be
destructive.
Yeah,
It would be
exactly,
destructive.
exactly.
Well, you're right. I mean, one of the things that we did during this building project is to make sure that we had appropriate support underneath of this floor, but allow it to vibrate. The
Right.
acoustics in this building are really good.
Okay.
And we had an eye on that when we were doing it. We weren't certain we got it until we got the back wall on. And once we had that, we then knew the acoustics were going to be good, and all the musicians loved this.
And the rounded wall, I bet that helps with the acoustics a lot.
Correct.
Or excuse me, the rounded ceiling,
Correct.
I should say as well. So now I'm going to ask you a little bit of more tough question here on
Sure.
this one. And no offense is meant. And a matter of fact, we had this conversation back in October, so this will not surprise you. Now, I fully understand your historic interest in this building. It's fascinating, the history that has been preserved here. And I fully understand your artistic interest and the cultural center that you want to create, the documentaries we're going to talk about in a minute, and all of the things that you do. But I got to be honest, Patrick, I do question your business acumen. How are you going to make a 94-seat theater profitable in a small town like this?
Well, that's a challenge. And it's just like any other challenge. You take it on and you take it piece by piece and you build it together.
Okay.
And we can actually make it on the seats itself. We're going to have concessions. And eventually
Okay.
we're going to have a restaurant in the front.
Okay. All right.
But we also do other things, like we have our YouTube channel. This is another stream of income we're going to have. It's also the cultural center. So there will be times that we may be able to get funding through grants or other nonprofit operations to help the whole operation continue forward.
So we in the future we're going to see a cafe or a little restaurant open in the portion that used to be Stanley Flower Shop.
Correct, yes.
Which moved over on 320 Honeyville Road, I believe, when they moved over
Correct.
away, and you had rented to them for
many years, yes.
several years, many years. And so that is now going to become a cafe. So you'll have concessions for sale, you'll have the ticket sales. But I want to hear more about the YouTube channel, because I'll tell you what, I have not only watched some of your historical documentaries, but I've also seen some of the musical performances that have happened right here on this stage that we're sitting on. And when you see them online, I mean, they look like they're in some big fancy Nashville studio or something. I mean, it really is slick production. What's going on there? How are you pulling that off?
Okay, well, this one I can't take a lot of credit for, except for hiring the person. A friend of mine, George Roosh, actually has 30 years of television production experience, and he's the person who sets all that up and makes it look so good.
It looks tremendous. It really does. It looks very professional.
I have very little to do with it, it's
Now, so you do that with the musical performance. Do you live stream them, or is that a recording that's then later available?
It's a recording at first, because the digital infrastructure is not as robust as we would like it to be sometimes.
Sure.
And it creates a whole series of issues that if we are trying to live stream simultaneously. But we generally record it. It's also that we like to bring people into the theater, so we don't want to give it away quite yet.
Right.
Then have people come into the theater.
I want to punch one more time a little bit more about your YouTube channel.
Sure.
Tell people, because you've got a couple of channels, I think, but those documentaries, now you had one about slavery, I believe, in America that came out around Juneteenth one year, maybe a year or two ago, and gosh, it had thousands and thousands and thousands of hits.
Right. We're trying to figure out exactly what happened. It's a song called "Follow the Drinking Gourd." "Follow the Drinking Gourd" was a coded song made by enslaved people, and it was basically coded directions to freedom, how to free yourself. Yeah. And the drinking gourd is the Big Dipper, so it's pointing north. And if you're embraced slavery during antebellum South, you're trying to get north to get out. And if the song explains what all the meanings, what the words mean, and how it was changed according to where the song was brought back to. It was used all throughout the South, including Virginia, but it was changed by the local, whatever local group was getting a hold of it in order to tailor it to their own needs.
And you guys have done documentaries related to the Civil War, about slavery, about Native Americans, and as you said, this area is rich in history to feed that. I know part of your interest in history is what's driving that, but I guess you're hoping to maybe one day monetize the YouTube portion.
Absolutely, and we can use all the assistance we can get. If you can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be fantastic. Please tell your friends.
Go ahead and punch and tell them where to go again.
Sure, go to Daughter of the Stars Theater at YouTube. We also have Shenandoah Stage, which is going to become our basically music channel. And then we have Shenandoah Stories, which is going to be more personalized stories about people living in the area at different times.
Now, you refer to this theater as a boutique theater. Now, for simple folks like myself, what in the world does that mean?
Well, boutique theater is, to sum up in one word, how to do an intimate venue for the performers and the audience. And this is one of the things we're striving to do, is to say, hey, we're trying to engage, educate, and inspire. And that is a lot of people can do these things if they try. If it's something they find interest in, they can try. And if you go to our one video talking about finding your guiding star, that's kind of the inspirational basis for the theater.
Okay. Now, I remember back in October, you told me that you had a 6-phase plan. Mm-hmm. And at that time, so this would have been last fall, mm-hmm. you said you were at the end of phase 2 and entering phase 3. Where are we at now, and what are we going to see in the future?
We're closing in quickly on the end of stage 4, which is finishing the lobby of the theater.
Okay, finishing the lobby.
Yeah, stage 5 will be finishing a restaurant. So that's going to be, although it's one phase, it's real big.
Okay.
And phase 6, I don't want to talk about yet, simply because we're not exactly 100% sure what it's going to be.
I see. Excellent. Well, that's a good reason.
Yeah.
All right. Now, for one of the two big things that we want to punch here today in today's show is now for next week's activities. We're talking about next Friday. That's going to be at 10 a.m. on Friday, May 17th. The Luray Page County Chamber of Commerce is having a ribbon cutting ceremony right here in front of the Daughter of the Stars Theater and Cultural Center on Main Street in Stanley. And then the next night on Saturday, on May 18th, Nelson Cate will be performing here. Now, you may remember that name as a contestant on the television show The Voice back a couple of years ago, and he will be here. Performance begins at 7 p.m., again, Saturday, May 18th, and doors will open at 6 p.m. We'll remind you of those times and dates again later on the show. But first, we're going to take a quick break. Will you stick around and play a game called the 5 W's with us? Sure. All right, wonderful. We'll do that in just a moment. But first, we would like to invite local businesses to consider being a sponsor of Page Valley Living. Each week we explore a different issue important to the people of the Page Valley, and our viewership is growing. Each episode remains in our YouTube channel library indefinitely. So consider helping us keep this segment of our local news coverage going by trying a new medium for your marketing. Monthly rates are available. And now back with Patrick Burns here at the Daughter of the Stars Theater and Cultural Center in downtown Stanley and the 5 W's. Now I'm going to ask you 5 questions about the who, what, when, where, and why. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Who would be your dream act to book here at this theater in Stanley if money was no object?
Billy Strings.
Oh my gosh, he is my favorite.
It cost $500,000.
$500,000?
Yes.
For one show?
For one show. And that would push the ticket prices well over $6,000.
$6,000 a seat.
Absolutely.
Well, there might be some people that would pay that to see Billy Strings, but I'm not one of them.
Right, and that's why he's not here at this point. Maybe in the future we'll be able to do something like
I'm going to cross my fingers, because I tell you what, he is one of my favorites. That's great. He is great. The what? What inspired you to take on this costly and risky project, and what keeps you going during this lengthy process?
In many ways, this is actually a Field of Dreams kind of project. When I came and first saw this building, what's here right now popped in my head within about 30 minutes.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and this is one of my advantages of a builder, and it's also one of my one of my skills as a builder is that I am willing to take on unique and difficult challenges. I don't want to build the same house over and over and over again and just repeat that and make as much money as possible. I don't have a hole in my soul I need to fill with money. I try to do things that are interesting, add value to not only what I'm doing, but the community around me. I like to keep in context with the past while moving towards the future.
Well, I think that is very admirable, and I congratulate you on what you're doing here, and wish you the best of luck. Now we're on the when. Now you told me not to ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Sure. When do you think the last of the 6 phases will be completed?
After phases 4 and 5 are completed.
That is a good as answer as any. I'm going to let you off the hook and go on. Where do you find the talents that you book for your shows?
Again, that goes to George. He's the one who is director of talent, marketing, and everything digital. And he is the one who finds the talent and picks it out and brings it back in. So he uses his television experience. He's done a great job finding good talent for this theater.
Outstanding, outstanding. And finally, we go to the why, our last question here, and we'll let you off the hook. Why is a theater and cultural center like this so important to the Page Valley?
Well, sure. People have been living in this valley for 12,500 years that have been documented. The Thunderbird site that's up in Warren County, was documented back to 12,500 years ago. And the history of the Shenandoah Valley is unique, fascinating, and has multiple stories which parallels the pre-United States history of the country and also the post-United States history of the country.
Well, that is a wide subject matter for your documentaries. You're not going to run out of topics.
We don't think so. No, we don't. And if we do it well, that's what we're supposed to do, is not run out.
Well, beyond the importance of what you're doing with your culture center aspect and the documentaries and history, what about the importance of just having a little venue like this in Stanley?
It gives people a great thing to do on a Saturday night or on a weekend. And that's part of what we're trying to do for the the people who are coming here to enjoy the wildlife and the national park and everything. It gives another venue when it rains, a good thing to come into. And it also just makes, again, we want to keep this as an intimate theater. We want to make sure that the performers and the audience can interact appropriately. We don't have like a big dressing room where they're off to the side. It's, it's intimate, and that's what we're trying to do, to say, hey, you may be able to do this too, or you may want to do this too.
Well, Patrick, this is a unique place. It's a special place. It has historical value, and you're going to add some educational and cultural value to it, and I think it's just wonderful. We want to thank you for spending some time with us today, for everything you have done for our county and everything you'll continue to do for our community.
Well, thank you. Like I always say, if I'm not learning, I'm not living. So that's why we're doing this, and this is part of what we're doing here.
Well, thank you so much for providing that for all of us here in the Page Valley. Hey, folks, don't forget, once again, a ribbon cutting coming up, hosted by the Luray-Page County Chamber of Commerce at 10 a.m. next Friday, May the 17th, right here at 186 East Main Street in Stanley at the Daughter of the Stars Theater and Cultural Center. And then the following night, on Saturday, May 18th, it's Nelson Cate, a former contestant on the television show The Voice. The performance will begin at 7 p.m. and the doors open at 6 p.m. We want to thank Eleanor Arrington for all of her work behind the cameras today. And if you enjoyed today's show, hit that like button, share it with a friend, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Page Valley News. And finally, make sure you visit all of our furry friends down at the Page County Animal Shelter and help them find a forever home. Until next week, I'm Randy Arrington saying, enjoy that Page Valley living.